Gap 3S. The night began with an unsettling silence. The air was still, almost too still, as if the world was holding its breath. A faint rustling could be heard in the distance, like whispers carried by a ghostly breeze. The sky was dark, not a star in sight, and the moon was hidden behind thick clouds, casting an inky shadow over everything. Suddenly, a bone-chilling gust of wind swept through the trees, sending leaves and debris spiraling into the air. The wind howled like a banshee, its eerie wail cutting through the night. It was a sound that sent shivers down my spine, a harbinger of something sinister. The trees creaked and groaned under the force, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. The air grew colder and an uneasy feeling settled in the pit of my stomach. There was a sense of being watched, as if unseen eyes were tracking my every move. The wind picked up again, stronger this time, rattling windows and slamming shutters. It was as if the storm was alive, a malevolent entity determined to make its presence known. In the distance, a low, mournful moan echoed through the night, adding to the sense of dread. It was a sound that defied explanation, a haunting melody that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end and my heart raced with a mix of fear and anticipation. As I stood there, rooted to the spot, the wind continued its relentless assault, each gust more forceful than the last. The eerie sounds grew louder, a cacophony of whispers, moans, and creaks that filled the night air. It was a symphony of terror, a prelude to the brewing storm that was about to unleash its full fury. With a final, deafening roar, the wind surged and the world seemed to hold its breath once more. The stage was set, the atmosphere charged with tension, and the storm was ready to make its grand entrance. The sky churned, a canvas of angry gray. Dark clouds swirled ominously, as if the heavens themselves were in turmoil. The air was thick with tension, a palpable sense of foreboding that seemed to press down on everything below. It was as if nature was preparing for a grand chaotic performance, and we were the unwilling audience. Snow fell, thick and fast. Each flake seemed to carry the weight of the storm, descending with a relentless fury. The ground quickly disappeared under a blanket of white, transforming the landscape into an alien world. The once familiar surroundings were now unrecognizable, buried under layers of snow. It blanketed the world, turning familiar roads into treacherous traps. The snow-covered streets became a labyrinth of hidden dangers, each turn fraught with uncertainty. The road ahead was a perilous journey where every decision could mean the difference between safety and disaster. Visibility was minimal. I could barely see past the hood of my car. The windshield wipers struggled to keep up, their rhythmic swish barely making a dent in the accumulating snow. The headlights cast a feeble glow, swallowed by the storm's fury. It felt like driving through a white abyss. My heart pounded, a drumbeat against the rising fear. Each breath was shallow, my hands gripping the steering wheel with a desperate intensity. The car's heater struggled to keep the cold at bay, but the chill of fear was far more penetrating. Every nerve in my body was on high alert. I had left work late, eager to get home. The day had been long and exhausting, and all I wanted was the comfort of my warm living room. But as I stepped outside, the reality of the storm hit me. The parking lot was already covered in a thick layer of snow, and the wind bit at my face with icy teeth. The storm worsened with every passing minute. What started as a gentle snowfall had quickly escalated into a full-blown blizzard. The snowflakes grew larger, falling faster, and the wind howled with increasing ferocity. It was as if the storm had a life of its own, growing more powerful with each passing second. Each snowflake felt like a tiny, icy hand, pushing me further into danger. They clung to the windshield, obscuring my view, and piled up on the hood, adding weight to the car. The road ahead was a treacherous path, and each flake seemed to whisper a warning of the perils that lay ahead. The wind howled like a wild animal, a symphony of impending doom. It roared through the trees, bending them to its will, and sent shivers down my spine. The sound was a constant reminder of the storm's power, a relentless force that seemed determined to test my resolve. The night was alive with the storm's fury, and I was just a small, fragile being caught in its grasp. My knuckles were white, gripping the steering wheel. The snowstorm outside was relentless, each flake a tiny dagger against the windshield. The wipers struggled to keep up, smearing the snow rather than clearing it. I could barely see the road ahead, just a blur of white and gray. The heater was on full blast, but I still felt a chill deep in my bones. My breath fogged up the glass, adding to the sense of claustrophobia. The car inched forward, a lonely vessel in a sea of white. Each turn of the wheel felt like a gamble, a roll of the dice. Would the tires find grip, or would they slide helplessly? The road was a treacherous path, hidden beneath a blanket of snow. I could feel the tension in my shoulders, the strain of trying to keep the car steady. Every muscle in my body was taut, ready to react. Unease morphed into full-blown panic. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat a drum signaling danger. My eyes darted from the road to the rearview mirror, checking for any signs of other vehicles. The isolation was both a blessing and a curse. No one to crash into, but no one to help if things went wrong. The fear was a living thing, coiling around my thoughts, squeezing tighter with each passing second. I thought about my family, warm and safe at home. The image of them sitting by the fireplace, laughing and talking, was a stark contrast to my current reality. I longed to be with them, to feel their warmth and hear their voices. The thought of not making it back to them was unbearable. It was this thought that kept me going, that gave me the strength to keep fighting the storm. Would I ever see them again? The car skidded. My heart leapt into my throat as the tires lost their grip. The world outside the window became a blur of motion, the car spinning out of control. I fought the wheel, trying to regain some semblance of direction. The sound of the tires scraping against the ice was deafening, a harsh reminder of the peril I was in. My stomach lurched. For a terrifying moment I was no longer in control. The car had a mind of its own, and it was taking me along for the ride. I could see the fear in my own eyes, reflected in the rearview mirror. It was a look I had never seen before, a look of pure, unadulterated terror. I gripped the wheel tighter, my knuckles turning even whiter if that was possible. The world spun, a dizzying carousel of white and gray. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare, one that I couldn't wake up from. The landscape outside was a chaotic swirl, and I was at its mercy. I tried to focus, to find a point of reference, but it was impossible. Everything was moving too fast, and I was just a passenger in this wild ride. Time seemed to slow down. I braced myself, a silent prayer escaping my lips. I could feel the impact coming, a collision that seemed inevitable. In that moment, all I could think about was my family, and how much I wanted to see them again. The prayer was a plea, a desperate hope that I would make it through this ordeal, and then everything went black. A sickening crunch, metal met metal with a horrifying screech. My car spun, a rogue dancer in the blizzard. I slammed into something else, a tree maybe, the impact jolting me to my core. Pain shot through my shoulder, my head spun. I struggled to catch my breath, the air knocked out of me. Fear, raw and primal, surged through me. I was trapped, injured, and alone in a raging storm. Section 4. Divine Intervention. Another car slammed into mine, then another. The world became a cacophony of crashing metal and shattering glass. I closed my eyes, bracing for the worst. This is it, I thought. This is how it ends. But then, silence. I opened my eyes, my body trembling. The storm raged on, but the crashing had stopped. I was alive, battered, bruised, but alive. It felt like a miracle, a divine intervention. Section 5. Gratitude. Rescue crews arrived what felt like hours later. The cold was biting, and the snow was relentless, but their determination was unwavering. I could see the urgency in their movements, the precision in their actions. They were my lifeline in that moment of despair. They extracted me from the wreckage, my body aching but my spirit soaring. The pain was intense, but the relief of being in safe hands was even greater. I could hear their reassuring voices telling me I was going to be okay. Their words were a balm to my frayed nerves. I was alive, I was going home. The realization hit me like a wave, bringing tears to my eyes. I had been given another chance to live, to see my loved ones again. The gratitude I felt was overwhelming, a mix of joy and relief that I couldn't put into words. As they loaded me into the ambulance, I looked back at the mangled mess of metal that was once my car. It was a stark reminder of how fragile life is, how quickly everything can change. The sight of the wreckage was sobering, but it also made me appreciate the gift of survival even more. It was a miracle I had survived. The odds had been stacked against me, yet here I was, breathing, feeling, living. The thought of what could have been sent shivers down my spine, but it also made me more determined to cherish every moment from now on. I was overwhelmed with gratitude, for the first responders, for my life, for everything. Their bravery and quick actions had saved me, and I couldn't thank them enough. I felt a deep connection to these strangers who had become my heroes. I had been given a second chance, a chance to make things right, to live fully, to love deeply. The experience had changed me, made me more aware of the preciousness of life. As I looked at the snowy horizon, I promised myself to never take anything for granted again.